Thank you.
Got it. Okay, guys, and I'm also going to start recording on Zoom too, if I can remember how to do that. Okay. That one.
Again. Okay.
And then you'll hit your presenter mode.
Yeah.
Thanks for your patience. We're working out this whole hybrid, in person, all of it. So, all right, there we go.
All right. Well, thank you for all being here tonight. I just wanted to start the evening, if you don't mind. I know you're enjoying this delicious soup that Jen has made and some tea, but I'd like to just go around the room really quickly. And I would love for you just to say what your name, and if you could just say one thing that oh, that's on mine. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oops, it popped me back out. Sorry, hold on just a second. Okay. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing your name with everyone, and then one thing that you value or that is precious to you. And so I'll start. My name is Amy Rattenbury, and I'm an acupuncturist. Well, I'll give you a little introduction of myself, too. I'm an acupuncturist here at SVT Health and Wellness, and I've been actually with SVT for 10 years now. And I'm just so excited to be able to be back in person and doing these classes again, and to have all of you show up. So thank you for coming tonight, and for Jen doing such an awesome job organizing and cooking and just making it such a warm place for us to be together. And so what I would like you to do is just share your name and one thing that you value. And so I will share that what I value is the natural world. This morning, I don't know if anyone was up this morning and saw the sunrise. It was phenomenal. And it was just such an awesome reminder of what a beautiful world we live in, and in particular, what a beautiful place Homer is. So thank you. You want to be next? Okay.
So I'm Jennifer, and the first thing that popped in my head was learning. I value learning. And that's part of why I loved this job and doing things like this, is because I get to constantly learn. So
thank you. If you don't mind, we'll just kind of go around the table.
No? Okay. Michelle, and one thing, no?
Yeah, well, you can talk as much as you want.
Friends,
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Okay. Yeah, family and friends. Wonderful. Thank you.
My name is Susan, and that's a hard question to answer quickly, but I'm going to crib from you, because I too really value the natural world.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I'm Laurel, and I value my faith.
Thank you.
I'm Allie. I value my child.
Thank you. Yes.
Alfred, and I value the sun.
Yes.
Jackie, and I value the sacredness of life.
I'm Rita, and I like, it's very similar on my neighbor's side, spirituality and the mystics and the mysterious ways of, we don't know.
Yeah. I'm Lillian, and I value my culture and my children and my grandchildren.
Wonderful.
My name is Janet. I value peaceful coexistence.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing that.
We have some people on Zoom.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I'm trying to spell coexistence. Okay, so Holly values the underwater world. And Julie and Lynn both value family and friends.
Wonderful.
Angela values freedom. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, everyone. And so that exercise actually is an exercise of the metal element. And so hopefully by the end of the class, you'll understand why we just did that. So first of all, I would like to spend some time just giving you an overview of the 5 elements. It's very simple, and yet it can be very complicated in the sense that you can continue to have a lot of different characteristics under each of the 5 elements. But I'll just jump in there, and if it's and feel free to ask questions at any time, and if it's anything is unclear, just let me know. So do you know what the 5 elements are in Chinese medicine? There's a lot of different ancient traditions out there. Does anyone know perhaps what the 5 elements might be in Chinese or Asian medicine?
The wood, metal, I mean, you mean those,
yeah.
water.
Mhm.
Do you have answer too?
Mhm.
So no, it's
Yeah,
just
and we'll talk about that. Yeah.
fire,
Mhm.
air, earth, wood, metal.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Angela for the win as well.
yeah.
Water, wood, fire, earth, and metal.
Thank you. Yeah. And so there are, as Rita was noting, there are different traditions. So last month we had Patty Delayed, our nurse practitioner, talking about Ayurvedic medicine, and they also have a 5-element system, but in Chinese medicine, we talk about the metal element, whereas in Ayurvedic medicine and Tibetan medicine, they break it out into air and ether. It's a little bit different, but we'll go into that. So basically in the Chinese medicine tradition, the 5 elements are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And it's just a way of looking at phenomena around you and also in your own body, and just giving you a language to describe what is happening, right? So it's just by observing what's happening in nature, observing your own self, and you can see relationships. And so we'll be talking about these different relationships and patterns that come up. So first I'd like to talk about the water element, only because we'll end on the metal element, which is what we're currently in right now, and I'll explain that a little bit more. So the water element is associated with the season of winter. So each of the elements has a season, and also it has an organ and energy system. And so some of you who are not familiar at all with Chinese medicine or acupuncture, has everyone heard the term qi? Or is that a little bit foreign to you? Okay. Yeah, so qi just means energy. So there's just a flow of energy. And so in Chinese medicine and in acupuncture in particular, we're working with energy that flows in the body. There's also energy that is out in the world. Like we can see with weather, we were talking earlier how there's a typhoon, someone said, that's coming, gonna hit Alaska. So obviously a lot of energy is changing. A lot of energy is coming this way. And there are organs, and there are also what are called meridians. And meridians are just energy pathways in the body. So you can think of it as like a river or stream that flows in your body. And there's 12 main meridians. And so each of the 5 elements can be broken down with a different organ and energy system. So underwater, we have bladder and kidneys. And did everyone pick up the handout with the clock? If not, there's more up front. And just really quickly, I wanted to, just because I think it's kind of fascinating. A lot of people are interested in this 24-hour clock, and that's a whole class in and of itself, but I just wanted to mention it really quickly. So as you can see, bladder and kidneys are from 3 to 5 p.m., and then kidneys are from 5 to 7 p.m. So what that means is that is when the energy is the strongest, and then conversely, the weakest from 3 to 5 a.m. and 5 to 7 a.m. So how many of you, well, okay, you don't have to answer this question. It's probably too personal, but a lot of us experience having to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. And perhaps one of the things that an acupuncturist or Chinese medicine practitioner would look at is there something with the bladder and the kidney energy that is relating to why you're having to get up frequently during the night. And so sometimes when symptoms show up again and again in a certain time frame, there can be a meaning associated with that can be helpful to determine how to move forward with treatment. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah.
Would you try something just really quick?
Yeah.
Could you on your Zoom, you see it? Could you turn your camera that says start video? Could you stop video?
Stop video. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, because you're getting like 2
Yeah,
shots.
sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's fine. Okay. And so what I'm going to go over today within the 5 elements is also some of the physical characteristics, the emotional and psychological characteristics, and life themes of each of the elements. So we'll kind of get a brief overview, and then we'll go really in depth or more in depth with the metal element. So some of the physical characteristics that we associate with the water element, or that we would look at, is the quality and the condition of bones, the brain, teeth, nervous system, your ears, and hearing. So in other words, if someone comes in and says, I'm suddenly having, for example, tinnitus, some people might have heard that term, which means ear ringing, there could be a relationship with your kidney energy. Sometimes tinnitus is actually more liver energy, so it can be more than one element, but it's something that we would look at, for example. And then there's the emotional and psychological characteristics. So the water element has to do with fear, like the emotion of the water element is fear. And when it's in balance, it's actually a healthy thing, right? Fear keeps us aware of perhaps dangers and things to avoid and how to be healthy and take care of ourselves. When it gets out of balance, you might have someone who is very frozen, or unable. For example, some people have social phobia, so they're unable to, go out into public, things like that. And then conversely, if the fear is like almost non-existent, which is also an imbalance, you can have someone who's like a daredevil, some people who are like, what is it, the squirrel suits? Have you seen that? It's kind of like skydiving, but you're just wearing a squirrel suit. Like you don't even have a parachute, really. It's kind of, you do at the end, but it is pretty amazing, really. Yeah, those people have some interesting kidney energy, in my opinion. Yes. And then the life themes of the water element has to do with like deep wisdom. So deep understanding, courage, again, power, fear, kind of spoke about all these things. Any questions with that?
So you say that it incorporates like the yin and yang, like you said, the daredevil, opposed to that one who is afraid of even putting a step outside the door.
Yeah,
So it incorporates like.
Yeah, so we talk about excess and deficiency is the terminology we use a lot. So is something excess, so it's too much, or is it deficient? Oh, welcome. You can have a seat here. And deficient is, not having enough energy or ability to, go outside or whatever phobia, someone might be experiencing.
So the organ is bladder and kidney, that's it.
Yeah, for water.
Not the blood.
No. The organs and the energy systems are bladder and kidney. Yeah. Sorry, my PowerPoint's frozen. Should I just be patient or?
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry. Okay.
No. I was doing this last week. There we go, see?
Oh, okay.
It's temperamental.
Just keep hitting
Is
it.
that water?
Yeah. Water can move very slowly, like a glacier. But actually, that is very true. Like there are movements. So of the elements, water can be stagnant, right? Like a pond that has no flow, or a glacier that's like really solidified over tens of thousands of years. So. Yeah, its movement is slow. Yes, good point. So you can read all of this, but basically, yes, balanced water means the person is able to assess risk appropriately and is not too extreme on either end. Okay. Yes. All right. Next element is the wood element. So quite a different energy. So we go from the water being very, the winter time, of course, especially here in Alaska, a lot of animals are hibernating. Even I feel like as a person, I hibernate a bit in the winter. It's like, it's dark. you're spending a lot of time quiet, perhaps maybe more solitary. And then the wood energy is that change where the energy is starting to come up and out. So we say it's actually one of the stronger, or the beginning of the movement up and out. It is associated, with the spring element, the spring season. And then the organ and energy systems are the gallbladder and the liver. So how many of you, and again, you don't have to answer, this is just kind of throwing it out there, wake up between 1 to 3 a.m.? So if you struggle with sleep and you find that you're often waking up between the hours of 1 to 3, it's a very common thing. And some of the things that I invite you to look at, so liver is responsible, and we'll talk about this down, in the springtime when I do the wood element, we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth, but the liver is responsible for detoxification, but also there can be a blockage between the liver moving into the next, like if you look at your clock handout, the next element, which I believe is the lung. And so sometimes we will do a treatment to move the energy from the liver into the lung and see if that actually helps with that sleep issue if you're waking a lot at the time.
Just gonna share that really quick with people.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. So also the liver has a lot to do with detoxification and, as I was mentioning that before. So if you eat a really heavy meal, or perhaps you're drinking a lot of alcohol or eating hard to digest things, just in general, or particularly in the night, in the evening before, you might notice that it's hard, that you're waking up between 1 to 3 a.m. So it might be that the liver is taxed. And so that's why it's keeping you awake. The other really interesting thing about the liver and the gallbladder is the liver in Chinese medicine is like the energy system that has to do with the ability to have to have the dreams, the big plans for your life. So this is like about when you perhaps maybe a teenager or a person in their 20s is thinking about what do I want to do with my life? Or, some kids go to college or choose a profession and they're determining where they want to go. Hi there, come on in. You can have a seat. Nice to see you.
Sorry for intrusion.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Late.
No, you're
Oh,
fine.
there's soup in the back.
Totally late, thank you.
Mhm.
I was thinking I could get here faster. My little legs.
No, you're fine. And so a lot of times people feel that they're very creative.
Long legs.
I don't know if people have experienced that, feel like they're really creative around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And so that's what's keeping them awake at night. So again, it means that you have, really strong liver energy that's helping you come up with new plans, new dreams, and sometimes that will cause the insomnia. All right, let's switch back.
Sorry, I'm trying to have people take a picture, a screenshot there.
Oh yeah, that's it. And I'll just mention one more thing. So liver has to do with the big dream, and gallbladder is the energy that actually implements the plan. So say you might know someone or you yourself experience it, sometimes you have these big dreams. Okay, I want to move to India, but then it just never happens year after year. So then we would look at, if you start to notice a pattern where it's you have these dreams that you want to experience, but then you never seem to be able to get the job done basically or implement the plan, then we're going to look at your gallbladder energy, and perhaps there's a blockage there that needs to be worked on so that you can actually make the dream manifest. Does that make sense? Okay.
Okay, Amy, you might have to share your screen again.
Okay.
What happens to your dreams when you don't have a gallbladder?
You still have them. but it is interesting.
No, sorry, there are no dreams. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, no.
I do have
No.
Did I mess that up?
Yeah, just share.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. That's a really good question, because there are a lot of people, a lot of patients that I work with that have had their gallbladder removed for various reasons. And so a lot of times I'm telling them, well, I'm working on your gallbladder energy today. And they're like, well, I don't have one. It's like, well, you still have the energy. You're still part of, it's still part of who you are. And the blockage perhaps of why you had to have it removed is that issue still might be there on some level that still needs to be addressed. So sometimes you still are treating the gallbladder even though technically the organ has been removed. And don't worry, you still have dreams.
Bad ones.
You have bad dreams. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's more, we'll talk about that in a minute, but that can sometimes nightmares and like really vivid dreams can be perhaps an imbalance in the fire element.
I don't think you meant dreams, you meant like aspirations.
Yeah, it's more aspirations.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So just a little chat, so you know, everybody knows, like possibly, it seems like this is a theme that kind of comes up about gallbladder questions. And so maybe at some point we can do a whole Thrive class on talking to just about the gallbladder and maybe through different modalities too.
Yeah.
Like how would Ayurveda view that? How would Chinese traditional medicine view that? How would nutritional therapy?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. We'll do it in the springtime.
Okay, let's do it.
With a detox. No, just kidding.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, she's thinking ahead.
All right, and so you can read this, but there's a physical resonance. So with ligaments, tendons, vision, the eyes. The emotion of the wood element has to do with the clock handouts out there, and then there'll be other handouts in just a minute. The emotion of the wood element is anger. And so again, anger can be appropriate. Anger actually, when it is felt appropriately, helps someone to identify an issue and then make change or initiate change around something, right? When it becomes destructive, if it is either repressed, like it's ignored, and you try and push that energy back down into the body, that's when we see sometimes that you can have sickness or illness in the body, or it will suddenly explode out like it's kind of been pushed down. All of a sudden you'll have an explosion of like rage or something like that. So anger imbalance is a powerful and a positive emotion for change, which is part of the wood energy. And so like I wrote here, anger versus meekness. So meekness could be considered perhaps a deficient wood energy. And then also there is this characteristic of being patient and flexible. So in Chinese medicine, we talk a lot about bamboo because there's a lot of bamboo in Asia. Have any of you been around bamboo or seen it? Yeah. So it's very hard, it's in segments, but it's extremely flexible. Like if you've ever walked in a bamboo forest, here's like these really rigid stalks basically, but then they're like bending and flowing with the wind. And so
and they take over, they just take over.
Yeah, that's true. That is true as well. But so the goal with a strong wood element is, can you appropriately express your anger, and can you also have patience and flexibility? And so again, you know, some of the themes that I've been talking about are growth, change, competitiveness, assertiveness, plans, dreams, implementation, action, and flexibility. Any questions with that? Okay.
What's the tea?
In the teapot is Ivan chai. It's fire.
Okay. It's Japanese now.
Is it not moving?
No, now it is, yeah. Yeah. So we kind of discussed all of this. So we'll move on to fire. So fire is the element of the summer season, and fire is unique. It actually has 4 different organs and energy systems associated with it. So we have the heart, the small intestine, the pericardium, and the triple warmer. So some people might not be familiar with the term pericardium, and basically it's like an envelope or protective covering around the heart. So literally there is a membrane that is a protection around the heart, but kind of energetically, we call it the heart protector. And so sometimes when we're treating cardiac conditions or heart conditions, we'll actually treat the pericardium rather than the heart directly. And triple warmer is a system that's not in Western medicine at all. And basically, it is that the body is broken into like 3 sections. So there's like the upper part of the body, which is like the heart and the lungs, the middle part of the body, which is like the digestive system. So that would be like liver, gallbladders, stomach, pancreas, and intestines. And then the lower part of the body, which would be kidneys, bladder, and the reproductive organs. And so are those 3 different sections communicating well with each other? So in Western medicine, perhaps you could liken it to like the endocrine system or the hormones sometimes. And so if you're noticing some imbalances in that arena, then we'll look at the triple warmer. Energetically, the pericardium has a lot to do with the ability to have strong and healthy one-on-one relationships. So if someone comes in, for example, and they struggle with intimacy or having appropriate one-on-one relationships, then we might look at the pericardium energy as a way to treat. And conversely, the triple warmer is more about the ability to have warmth and connection with a social group. And so some people struggle with that. Or conversely, they're really good at it. So people who are like matchmakers, or you're at a party and they're like the social butterfly that's kind of like introducing everybody, then that is a person who has strong triple warmer energy. So the physical aspects of the fire element has to do with the circulatory system, the heart, and then also the tongue and speech. So communication is a really important part of the fire element. So people who struggle with communication will look a little bit closer at which of the elements perhaps might be not functioning, as well as some of the other ones. And the emotions and the psychological characteristics are warmth, connection, intimacy, joy. And so the translation from Chinese is it's actually more closely related to mania. So I don't know if you've been around anyone who has sometimes like manic episodes. So it's like joy that becomes a little bit too excess. So again, we're talking about, is joy and happiness appropriate, or is it like too excess, or conversely, is it deficient? Then we have someone perhaps who's experiencing depression, and then we can work on it in that aspect. So some of the life themes of the fire element are communication, relationships, love, warmth, appropriate humor. So humor is a really big part of the fire element. So, and I use the term appropriate because sometimes people have like inappropriate humor. We want to look at the fire element, especially like really, some people are really sarcastic, really biting, then we're going to probably try and treat some of the fire energy. So again, the fire element allows a person to give and receive love with appropriate degrees of emotional closeness. So sometimes, it's appropriate to be this close with people around you, and then, your one-on-one relationships will be at a different level. So do you have appropriate relationships with other people? So again, communication, connection, integration, intimacy. The next element is the earth element. It's associated with the late summer, early autumn. So originally we had talked about maybe having this class be the earth element, but luckily we did not, because clearly we are in the fall. But if you went to the lower 48, in a lot of places, you're still in the earth element right now, which is like harvest time. It's still really hot and sunny. And the earth has to do with the stomach and the spleen energy in the organs. And so again, looking at the clock, the high points or the strong times for stomach and spleen is 7 to 9 a.m. and then 9 to 11 a.m. And so in Chinese medicine, what that means is that we say that's actually when your digestive fire is strongest. So we actually encourage people to consider eating your bigger meal, which is kind of the opposite of how most of the Western world eats, but have your bigger meal earlier in the day. And I'll just throw it out there. It's not for everybody. Some people can't eat before 10 or 11, but.
We have till 11.
But according to this clock, that is, for most people, that's when your digestive energy is the strongest. Some of the emotions and psychological characteristics are generosity, feeling supported, centered, and stable. So basically the ability to feel nurtured and to be able to give nurturance to others. And when it's out of balance, a lot of times the presentation is like ruminating thoughts or overthinking, or worry is the term that is often used. So again, the life themes are feeling abundant, nurturing versus hoarding, or being overbearing or needy or dependent or smothering or complaining. So again, everything can be in balance or excess or deficient. So we talked about, yes, appropriate support and nurturing. And also, yeah, can you give and receive? Or, you know, some people, I myself sometimes have the pattern where I feel like I'm just always have to give, and sometimes it's hard to receive. So then I need to work on my earth element. You know, can I have that balance between the two? All right. Oh, the other thing that often comes up sometimes with earth element out of balance is foggy headedness. So that's it's kind of a strange word, but some of you might relate to it. And so it's when you're feeling muddied or it's hard to think clearly. Then we're going to look at the spleen and stomach energy to see if that might be a way to correct that. The metal element is where we're at today. And so that has resonance with the autumn or the fall season. And the organs in the energy systems are the lungs and the large intestine. So for most people, you wake up, a lot of people wake up between 5 to 7 a.m. And have to go to the bathroom. So that's pretty common for the large intestine. And the physical resonance has to do with the skin, the mucous membranes, the immune system, the nose, and the sense of smell. And the emotion of the metal element is grief. And so again, there is an appropriate level of grief. We all experience difficult situations or the pain of having to let go of something that perhaps we were attached to or we don't want to let go of. But can we appropriately feel grief and then allow it to pass, or do we hold on to that? And the life themes are, again, ability to let go. Pursuit of knowledge is also really important. So a lot of strong metal element people are academics. They love to learn. They are often are very rational, organized, usually very clear thinkers. So these are all strong metal elements. Some strong metal element people go into the realm of religion or spirituality. And so you'll see sometimes like pastors or ministers have very strong metal elements in them. And then conversely, when it's like out of balance, you'll see the phenomena of like obsession with like materialism. So like one of the examples I bring up is like you've seen rappers, that wear like these huge gold chains with like huge dollar signs. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, and they have gold teeth, bling, yes. And it's like this it's like way exaggerated presentation of money and wealth and materialism. So that's obviously out of balance metal. So if they would come in, I'd probably work a little bit on that.
And they came in.
And ask them where they got that necklace. So again, a balanced metal element allows a person to take in the richness of life, to feel loss, because that is part of life, to be able to let go and move forward. And sometimes when it's out of balance, you can either experience being kind of stuck in grief, or conversely, like just shut off, like not able to move forward, but also not able to connect at all, then we'll look at the metal element as a way to treat. Some of the characteristics have to do with recognition, feeling value and self-worth. So that's why at the beginning I asked everyone to share your name. So it's like acknowledgement of each other, recognition of one another, and also what you value. So you all shared what was important to you, what you value. Okay, so we'll stop there for a second. Any questions? So I have a little quiz I just kind of came up with. I mean, I based it off of some of the stuff I talked about and some other things that I've come across over the years. So if you just want to pass one around, and if you just want to do it really quickly, it's just for you, just for fun. And it's just to see where you're at, which element perhaps you're really strong in or show resonance with, or which one. Let me know if you need more hand.
Thank you. There we go. I'll try to get it up.
So I'm curious, the fire element shows up twice in this wheel and none of the others do.
That's correct. Yes, the fire element has 4 instead of just 2. Fire element's the only one that has 4 organs and energy systems. So it is unique that way. Yeah. So it has the heart, the small intestine. The heart, the heart from an energetic point of view in Chinese medicine is the emperor. That's what the traditional texts that go back thousands of years, it was a patriarchal society at that time. So it was talking about the emperor. And so the heart for the human being is where the spirit resides. It's like, this is the seat of who we are. And so that's why I was also mentioning where sometimes if there's cardiac issues, we'll actually treat the pericardium rather than the heart directly, because the heart is so valuable, so powerful, that sometimes we don't want to directly work on the heart energy, so we can work on the pericardium in order to help support the heart, for example.
So Amy, right now, you want people to just be looking at this and kind of see where they identify themselves?
You can make checks, or you can just look it over and just see, do any of the elements or these characteristics seem to jump out at you, or if there's like perhaps one element that seems stronger. So basically, as human beings, we should have all 5 elements within us, right? But we have different, we can have different combinations, basically. And also what I've been talking about tonight, and I hope I've been clear about it, is an element can be in balance, and it can also be deficient or excessive. So a lot of these characteristics on this quiz are perhaps maybe more of the negative aspects. But it, there can be very powerful aspects for each of the elements as well. So I hope that that's clear. Like, there's not an element that's bad or that you want to avoid, or, just like every season is very important in life.
Anyone like any tea?
Or soup, so good, isn't it?
Yeah, great soup.
So good.
So comforting.
Yeah.
Get the spot so warm.
Did you try this item check?
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah.
It's tasty.
It's
I'm
really
gonna have to
nice.
get some more for us.
Yeah. Where did you get it from?
At the farmer's market.
Oh, okay.
It's the woman that is right next to Willowbrow.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little fire and earth.
You have a strong resonance with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of both.
Yep.
No fancy.
Yeah.
I'm so balanced.
No, I have everything, I mean.
Got a little of everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to dare check them.
Blackout.
Right, it's hard to check them all.
Yeah. Just highlight it all. Yeah.
Got it all.
And this is just a very, so actually,
Simplifying.
there is a whole 5-element acupuncture. I'm currently doing a 2-year like advanced clinical integration program just focusing on 5-element acupuncture. And one of the important things to note is like this isn't enough to like diagnose or to know exactly which element to work on. So basically in that system of acupuncture, we're looking at color. So there's actually like a color that's associated with each of the elements. And
those colors?
Yeah. So like wood, and it's, people can have different, everything from dark skin to light skin, but it's more like, what is the color of the light that kind of is reflecting off around the corner of the eye and the mouth? And that can sometimes, once you start to look a little closer, it can be green, which is wood. It can be more white, which is metal. It can be red. Yeah, not the tongue. It's more around the mouth and the sides of the eyes. It can be more reddish, or conversely, kind of a burnt gray can actually be a fire. And then blue or black is water. So we diagnose based on color, sound of the voice. So everyone's voice actually has a quality. So the metal element voice can be sometimes, occasionally it can be like hard to hear, like someone who it's hard to hear them, or it's kind of airy or raspy, whereas water is kind of more of a groan. Like right now I kind of have a little bit of a groan in my voice. Can you hear that a little bit? So that's a water voice. Earth is singing. So it's someone who's like, hi, yes, I can do this. And yes, that's a earth. And fire is up and up, up. And wood is either shout or lack of shout. So it's kind of like, so it's very nuanced. But anyways, basically what I'm saying is we look at color, sound, emotion, which these relate to the emotions, and then odor. There's even certain smells that are associated with the element. And then we treat based on that. So it's not just the emotions, but it can be.
There's a lot to it.
There's a lot to it, yeah. All right, so we'll just move forward. Oh.
Yeah, you have to share your screen.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oops.
Presenter mode.
Okay. Oops.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry.
So Amy, when did,
So I'll just kind of go through this one.
how far does it going along when this was kind of, where was it written up first, this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of ancient texts. One of them is called the text of the Yellow Emperor, and that goes back probably at least 2,000 years. They say Chinese medicine is at least 4,000 years old.
Very old.
Yeah, but I think all cultures, right? All indigenous cultures, you just spend time out in nature and you see relationships and patterns. That's all it is. Just
but the Chinese were way ahead of any culture.
I don't think that they were way ahead maybe per se at during that time, except that they wrote it down, they put it together and they recorded it. And a lot of other cultures perhaps were storytellers or had other ways of communicating that knowledge. But I think many indigenous traditions have similar ways of looking at phenomena in the body, whether it's illness or health or weather, and understanding how to relate appropriately. And so it is true. A lot of people say, oh, yes, Chinese medicine is very old. I think all traditions are old. It's just it's kind of old in the sense that it was continuous and recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were very early doing that. I mean, look, they beat each other up while they had fireworks. I mean, they were really ahead of
In some
science.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is very complex, I think.
Yeah. So it can be very simple, right? It can be very simple of okay, let's look outside. What elements do you see today?
Rain.
Clearly water, rain. Yeah, so a lot of
What is the color
water.
gray referring to?
Gray is metal.
Oh.
Yeah,
Very metal now.
yeah. It's like, we're in the autumn season. Yeah. Okay. So people observed mountains, rocks, minerals, nutrients, and correlated this with the metal element. So mountains are representative of the metal element, the rocks, and the minerals that are in soil. So the soil itself that, you plant your garden in would be more earth, but the actual minerals are the metal aspect.
See, this is confusing to me.
Yes, it's different than
It never makes
Arabic.
sense to me.
Yeah,
It just doesn't make sense.
yeah.
I don't know. Like that they take out earth, and metal, but not the crystalline nature, for example, all these crystals, or where do they go?
Crystal is metal. Like so metal incorporates like all the like gold, diamonds, crystals. It incorporates the minerals that are in the soil, the mountains, and then it's also, it does include air because they don't have a separate category for air or ether like they do in Ayurvedic medicine. Yeah. So that's all under metal. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So the metal element has this quality of, so it's talking about like the wood or the spring, in the springtime, the wood element is this action of up and out growth, right? So we actually correlate also the seasons of our human lifespan with the 5 elements. So wood would be childhood, right? So like you have a 3-year-old, very active, up and out, just like, probably gets angry, right? Tantrums quickly, but also releases it. Like we can learn a lot from kids. It's like, feel that anger and then let it go. They don't hold on to grudges like we do as adults sometimes. So that's the wood. And then fire is also up and out. So we see that kind of in perhaps your like 20s or so when you're trying to make connections. A lot of times people will look for partners, start to settle down, get married. So connections and relationships are really important. And then we move into the earth element. So that's perhaps maybe 30s, 40s, 50s. So it's, the late summer, early fall time when you are kind of at the peak of your career, and you've kind of had like a relationship perhaps for a while or children. And so you're able to harvest the fruits of each of these cycles. And now the metal element is starting to pull that energy back downward and inward again. And so this is a time of deep reflection, and the energy is moving down and in. And so we see that out on earth, right? The flowers are starting to fall, the buds are falling off, the plants, the leaves are falling off, and all that energy is going down into the roots for next year. Let's see. So it has the quality of decrease or pulling inward. And, like I was saying, in autumn, the leaves, the fruit, the plant stalks, the blossoms fall to the ground, they rot, become part of the earth, and transform into minerals and nutrients that enrich and grow into next year's plants. The heat draws it back into the earth, right? The night hours are growing longer and cooler. And the emotion, again, for the metal element is grief or sadness, which is appropriate. So as things die or change, grief resonates with this phase as a process of letting go in order to prepare for new life or for change. So we've been talking about the lungs and the large intestine. So the lungs are the receiver of air, inspiration, and chi from the sky, or the traditional texts use the term heavens. And the large intestine is the drainer of the dregs. So it's responsible for the transit and elimination of what's no longer needed. And we say that energetically, if the lungs are weak, then often the immune system can be weak. And so it's really important, especially all the time, but especially this time of year, to be mindful of the lung energy and the large intestine energy. So why don't we do a quick breathing exercise? So I'm going to pass out this handout now. And we'll just do the first, we can pass that down the line. So these are just some different breathing exercises for you to try out at home. And you can find maybe one that you resonate with, that you really enjoy, or if you like all of them, you can practice all of them. The really interesting thing from a Western medicine point of view is that they're doing a lot of research right now on how, does everybody have one? They're still moving down the line. That breathing, by just doing various breathing techniques, you can actually calm the nervous system down. So you probably have heard the term like fight or flight. That's when the autonomic nervous system goes into overdrive when it's stressed or goes into shock. And one of the quickest ways to help mitigate that is just to do some of these breathing techniques. So they've done research, even the very first one, which is, has this big name, but I just call it belly breathing or abdominal breathing. Basically, even just 4 or 5 repetitions of breathing has been shown to calm the nervous system. So they can check that with your pulse rate, your blood pressure, all these different ways of doing it. So basically, belly breathing, all you're going to do is breathe deeply into the lobes of your lungs. So did you know that your lungs actually extend basically from the tops of your shoulders all the way down to almost the ends of your ribs? You know that they're that big? And there's 3 lobes on the right side and 2 on the left. So I brought this picture. If you want, you can look at this later. But basically, for people who are online, you can look at the internet. But the lungs, are a huge organ. And so when a lot of people are stressed, they are doing shallow breathing, right? And so that's why it's really important just to check in maybe anytime you're going through stress, but throughout the day, and just take a couple 4 to 5 deep breaths. And even that can just be very cleansing and very relaxing. So let's go ahead and just do 4 or 5 deep breaths. You can do it at your own pace. And for some people, I recommend actually you can hold your abdomen if you want, and just see if you could kind of energetically feel that you're breathing all the way down into that lowest lobe of your lungs. So you can just see if the abdomen actually rises and falls. And so, I just invite you to do that throughout the day as a practice. And exercise is really easy. You can do it when you're driving. You can do it while you're even meeting with someone, talking with someone, when you're by yourself, watching something on TV, whenever it is. And it can be really beneficial for your body. Let's just do one more. Let's try the 4 square breathing technique. So this is another one, again, just inviting you to find what you like best. This one, you're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold for 4 seconds. You can do that at your own pace, and just see if you prefer one or the other, and how you feel after you've done that. Let's just do 2 rounds of that. And ideally, I recommend doing at least 4 to 5 times, but we'll just keep moving on. We'll come back to the rest of the breathing exercises here. Yeah.
if you don't want to start from the beginning, it's fine if it just has that different view.
Oh, whoops. I think I hit. How do you do just the presenter view without doing from the
Without
beginning? Oh, from current slides? Oh,
Try
okay.
it.
Oh, good.
Yay.
All right, okay. So some of you have heard of Tai Chi or Qigong perhaps, and so there's a lot of very advanced breathing practice also with yoga that do different techniques that can energize or release. But the first level is just abdominal belly breathing. So it's very safe, very effective, great for everybody. So I highly recommend it. The lungs have the protection of spreading what's called defensive or Wei Qi. So Wei Qi is a concept in Chinese medicine that our immune system has like, it's almost like we have like a little envelope sort of on our skin or just right above our skin. And that is governed by the lungs. And so again, breathing is really important. Also, we often say covering up your neck. So especially this time of year, you really want to keep your necks covered. And also in the springtime, because there's a lot of wind, right? This is the time of change and transition. So I don't know if you know, it's like suddenly we'll get these huge wind storms, and same thing happens in the spring. And so it's a really important time to wear like a turtleneck or scarf or just zip your coat up. So even if you're hot, you could wear like a t-shirt, but just kind of cover up your neck. And that we say helps your immune system. We're really fortunate, obviously, to live in Alaska and particularly in Homer. My sister used to live in Fairbanks for a long time. My brother lives there now, and the air is terrible there. They have coal-fired energy, and you can just see the smog sitting in what is it called, the inversion or whatever. It's just terrible.
Where's that?
In Fairbanks.
Oh, because it's in there.
Yeah. So we're really fortunate to be here in Homer. We have great air. So the large intestine, I mean, it's pretty obvious, transforms the last parts of food and helps with the elimination of waste. So this is a really important, it's like the joke is like, how long would you well, we live in Homer, so we have to deal with our own trash, but in the cities, people have like trash men that come and pick up your trash. And if they go on strike, like how long would people last before they would get really upset about that? So same thing with large intestine and people who deal with constipation. What happens is that if you're not eliminating well, you can get a buildup of toxins in your body, and so it's really important to be able to move your bowels and excrete unneeded waste. Also on an energetic level, I wrote here in the second point, is that we sometimes use large intestine points to help release like things that no longer serve us. There's actually points on the large intestine meridian that help energetically just to like let go of things that are no longer needed. So some of the symptoms that might come up if you have a large intestine imbalance is shortness of breath, being susceptible to illness, respiratory infections, skin problems, sinus issues, headaches, constipation, diarrhea, sometimes abdominal and or back pain or discomfort. And all that being said, no element is by itself. So these could be just lung and large intestine issues, but often we see, I will treat, for example, often with sinus issues or immune issues, I'm going to treat like the spleen, stomach, which is the digestive system, as well as the lung and large intestine. So it's never just one thing, but these are some of the basic ones that can come up when the lung and large intestine are not working well. So this is pretty obvious, like smoking and diet can either clog the intestines or the lung. Also congesting meals high in meats, processed foods, dairy, refined carbohydrates. So let's talk a little bit about that. And so Jen's doing a tremendous job every week offering recipes and making food and counseling here to help people make better nutritional choices. So these are, I think, common sense. Most people know this, but sometimes it's hard, you know? Like I sometimes say it's like, sometimes Jen makes them fun and exciting and beautiful, but sometimes at home I'm like, oh, I think I just want, you know, some cheese right now. And is that the best choice? Probably not. So working with someone like Jen can help inspire you with new recipes, you know, and making it appealing so that you make the right choices. So I highly encourage that. But basically in the autumn and the winter, especially here in Alaska, we do recommend that you cook your vegetables this time of year. So raw food can be very hard to digest this time of year. And so adding that digestive fire through cooking it, so either steamed or sauteed, however you like it, makes it easier to digest. We recommend whole grains, root vegetables that are coming up this time of year. The farmer's market, from what I understand, is just like super abundant. There's so much still right now coming out. So it's a great place to get food if you don't grow it yourself. Beans and legumes, lots of water, herbal teas, soups, and healthy oils from nuts and seeds, if you can digest them. So some people who, we were talking earlier, that don't have a gallbladder, for example, might have trouble digesting oils, or other people with digestive issues might have trouble digesting nuts and seeds. So this is just very general advice. You should always, work with a provider or with Jennifer to help decide, what is best for you. Caffeine and sugar, right? These are like the ultimate fun things. Especially this time of year when the light is decreasing, a lot of times we start to turn towards sugar and caffeine because it gives us this sort of artificial fire. It gives us this artificial feeling of energy, but ultimately what it's actually doing is depleting your kidney energy, which is in the water element. So we do encourage people to be moderate. Moderation is important. So also moderate exercise, just walking. There's so much research now that just walking, even just 20 minutes or 30 minutes a day, even just starting with that is super beneficial for the body. Sauna and steam. We do have infrared sauna here for anyone who's interested. It's now open again.
Infrared.
It's a sauna. And it's a sauna, using infrared, so it can help with detoxification, and it's just a great way to help support your immune system, especially this time of year. Some people like to finish your shower bath with cold water, or I have a friend who will jump in the ocean. No wetsuit.
I think it's catching here in Homer. I just met a lady, they did a month-long thing, so they go every day for 1 month. So it's picking up a little bit.
Yeah, it's getting popular.
How they stay in there? Sometimes they stay in there.
Yeah. And I'd be really curious. I mean, the research shows that it does help your immune system.
Yeah.
And even some people I know that have had cancer and some really serious chronic disease, it can be helpful. Yeah.
Amy, is that something that Chinese medicine advocates for? Do you have to? I'm really not into it.
Yeah, no, you do not have to do it. You do not ever have to do it. But no, it's kind of more of a general suggestion. Like, for example, when you go to Asia, bathhouses and hot springs are a really big part of the culture. And they will always have a cold plunge pool.
Balance it.
Yeah, so you always will do hot and cold, which helps to stimulate circulation. But then some people say, you do want to try and finish with cold because that seals and closes the pores. But it's extremely uncomfortable. And so some people are not into that. And then you have, some people might have heard of Wim Hof. He's a Scandinavian who combines breathing exercises with cold water immersion. So, yeah, so again, everything in moderation and find what works for you. So, no, you do not have to do everything.
I can do it if it's hot, if I'm really hot, I can do
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
I just don't understand why you go jump in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's cold. The
Yeah.
lake maybe.
Right.
Growing up in the village, we had, our source of bath was our sauna.
Love those.
And we used to, as kids, our parents used to tell us, if you get too hot, just run outside and jump in the snow.
Yeah.
That's right.
That calmed you down right away.
Yeah.
Here's the bottom.
Yeah. Any questions about that? We'll move through that. So I'd like to finish with a couple more breathing exercises. So the 4-7-8, do you guys remember Dr. Andrew Weil was the Surgeon General, like, gosh, in the 90s, I think, quite a while ago, and he started the first integrative medicine, or one of the, I shouldn't say the first, but one of the first recognized integrative medicine programs in Arizona. And so this breathing exercise is attributed to him. And I always thought it was really weird because you're essentially holding your breath and exhaling longer than you're inhaling. So it's kind of like
Actually, this is pranayama, and that goes
2000
BC.
Yes.
So this is not him.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, just to clarify.
Yeah.
I mean, you do the pranayama with the 4
Yeah.
and hold.
And hold and then
No,
exhale.
It's not his.
Yeah.
He's taking credit.
And I'll just say, okay, so one time I had the experience where I woke up in the middle of the night, it was 3 a.m. and I had flooded one of my toilets without realizing it. And it was, what I woke up to was the sound of dripping water. So you can imagine how bad it was to that point that that's actually what woke me up. There was water, my whole house is made of wood. So there was water pouring down from the second level where the leak was happening down to the first level. It was extremely stressful. I was definitely in panic mode. And I was so panicked that I was literally like running around and could not like come up with a plan. And I just finally, for some reason, this popped in my head and I just did 2 rounds of this. And then it really did calm me down. And then I could think. I was like, go get some towels, shut off the water.
Oh, no.
No, I literally couldn't, it was just like in this
Freaking out.
panic mode.
So which one are you on?
I'm on the 4-7-8,
Oh.
but any of them,
Yeah.
like, belly breathing probably would have worked,
Yeah.
or the 4 square. For some reason, I personally don't really like the 4 square, but some people love it. I have patients that love it. So find what works for you. But let's go ahead and try this one. At least let's just do 2 rounds. And so this is to your own pace. So you just inhale to whatever pace to the count of 4, and then you hold to the count of 7. And then go ahead and exhale to the count of 8. And just do 2 rounds of that at your own pace. Can any of you notice a difference in your body or your energy? Like, do you feel a little change there? Yeah. Heart math is wonderful. There's a lot of research that's been done since the 1970s. And this is the quick coherence technique. So this one, they've done a lot of studies on how beneficial it is for disease management and even its healing power, basically. And so this is a really simple technique. So what you're going to do is just put your attention at your heart or your chest area. And for some people, if I say that might be hard, then you can just go ahead and you can just put your hand on your chest, and that might help a little bit. And then you just want to inhale as if though you're inhaling in and out through under your hand here. So you can go ahead and just take a couple deep breaths. Just imagine that you're breathing through your heart or through the chest. And then the last piece is to bring a very happy and very simple memory to mind. So you don't want to bring up, for example, your boyfriend or your wife or something complicated, because that relationship has a lot of
The dog.
aspects
Think of
to
a
it.
dog.
Even a dog can be sometimes complicated. So, you know, when I was learning this, the teacher instructed your grandmother's chocolate chip cookie, you can just bring that to mind, or a flower, or the view, something just really simple and lovely that brings you joy. And then just keep that in your mind as you continue to breathe through your heart or through the chest. And then if you're curious, you can always look online, do a search on heart math, and you can look at the research. It's pretty phenomenal that they've proven just with these different breathing techniques.
I think that's my all-time favorite.
Of all,
Yeah.
yeah,
Is that the same as the heart-brain coherence?
yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. So find what works for you. There's tons more breathing exercises you can look up, but just doing that throughout the day can be really beneficial. The last one, if you're interested, is we could do a little Qigong. So Qigong is a precursor to Tai Chi or to martial arts, and basically it just means moving Qi. You could do it seated if you want. I like to do this one standing up, totally your preference. So, and if you don't want to do it, you don't have to either.
Some people can see you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Is that better like that?
Perfect.
Okay. So if you're interested, I can demonstrate one round to you. So you're going to imagine that you're drawing energy up from the earth. So your hands are facing down. So drawing energy up from the earth, and then you turn your palms up. Now you're going to draw energy from the sky. And you're just going to direct it down to your head. And you stop there and go ahead and take 3 breaths in and out. And then I do 1 breath with my hands on either side of the head. And then to my chest. And then to my abdomen. And then just rest here for a minute. Oh, and one thing they recommend is women, you want your right hand closer to your body. And men is the opposite. Have your left hand close to your body. So again, we'll just do it one more time here. So you can go ahead and inhale. Bring the palms up. Inhale from the sky. Drag that energy down. Kind of like a shower bath of energy through the body. 3 breaths here. Then to either side of the head by the ears. 1 breath. To the chest.
Which hand on the heart?
The women will have right hand closer to the body. The abdomen. And relax.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah.
You can do that as well once a day, several times a day, whenever you feel like it. All right.
Is a Qigong class offered in community schools?
I don't know if they're doing that right now. I haven't heard. They
I
might
think
be.
there's a Tai Chi class happening right now.
Oh, cool. Do you know who's teaching that?
I think it's Dina.
Oh, Dina's. Oh, cool. Yeah, Dina's wonderful.
Yeah, it's, I believe it's either Tuesday or Thursday. It's like at 4 o'clock.
And then there's another one with the martial arts.
At the,
Park.
no, the high school.
That's
I have not seen the pamphlet. Where's the pamphlet?
At the library.
For the community education? I think you're
At the library,
for
you
it.
In the early days, they send it out to you,
Yeah.
but that is not happening anymore.
I can pull up the website anyway.
I think the library, they
And then this is a complete aside, but on Thursday mornings, starting next week, Thursday mornings, just from 10:30 to 11:30, we're gonna meet in this room. Anybody who wants to meet in this room, just for half an hour, we're gonna pull up YouTube and we're gonna do 10 minutes, 10, 10, and 10. We're gonna do 10 minutes of chair yoga, 10 minutes of chair tai chi, and 10 minutes of chair qigong.
Nice.
So it's kind of goofy, but
That's goofy.
I'm not certified in any of it,
Right.
but YouTube has it all.
YouTube.
Yes, yeah.
I just think that maybe it'd be a chance for us to get together and do it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can get in the pool and get
Right.
the pool going on that day too, but
Mhm.
anyway.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
10:30 on Thursdays here.
wonderful. That's
That would
great.
be nice to have a communal and just be in front of individual TVs.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what it's really about, I think, is community
Mhm.
and a little bit of accountability, because it's just like any, like fermented foods, whatever, you know, it's like,
Mhm.
it's hard to do it on your own.
Yeah.
So it's nice we'll get together and do it with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, makes
I
sense.
don't know, when it's Tai Chi, I feel the energy of everyone else's, like,
Yeah.
everything's peaceful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's
That's good to
wonderful.
know.
Any questions? Or
Well,
any
if-
questions from the participants?
Oh, yeah, let's ask.
I missed, the forum before you had this one up. They talked about the being in cold water.
Oh, just my suggestions.
Yeah,
Yeah, do you want me to go back to that? Whoops. Let's see if I can find that.
well, no trouble,
Hmm.
some other time.
Yeah, they're just general
You can just send it to me.
suggestions. Let's see. I'll just pull it up real quick. Whoops. That's not it.
Oh, we just do a quiz. Who remembers anything?
I'm so.
I just remember cold
And now we
water.
have a test, write everything down.
Right, yeah. What suggestions do you have? There it is.
That one, some
Okay.
of the suggestions.
Oh, good
So
sweat.
just moderate exercise, maybe doing a sauna or steam,
Oh, yeah.
meditation or spiritual practices. That's particularly the metal element
Mhm.
resonates with that.
Mhm.
And then breathing
Breathing techniques.
exercises, yoga,
Okay.
yeah. Anything that feeds your soul. You know, some people said their faith or their family, anything like that. Yes. Mhm.
When you were talking about certain foods at certain times, or like now to be doing the squash,
Mhm.
I read, but it's been so long, but I don't remember. Do you recommend any books on it? And is this related to like the hot and cold with Chinese medicine with certain
Yes.
things?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, so in Chinese medicine, we have a whole nutritional therapy that looks at the energetic aspect of food. So, for example, every food is either, yes, like hot or cool or cold or warming or damp or reducing damp or dry, drying. So there's different qualities of food. So also what's happening in your body, then you would have recommendations of food that way. So I could go grab the books. So one book, if you're interested in, that's excellent, and a lot of the information actually from this PowerPoint that I talked about today is called Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And it's by, I think, Dr. Haas. I could go grab the book. So that talks a lot about the 5 elements. So you get that introduction plus a lot about food and how to eat with the seasons and recommendation. And just
Interesting.
a fabulous book of recommendations on how to stay healthy. So that's Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And then there are books like even more specific if you're really interested in just like Chinese nutrition. But I think
General.
the Staying Healthy
Yeah.
with the Seasons is a great starting point.
Who's the author of that?
I think it was Dr. Haas. Let me go grab it. I'll be
You
right
just-
back.
Us.
And in the meantime, I'm gonna pull up the website, for
Julian Lynn
community.
say thank you.
What's that?
Julian Lynn to everyone said thank you.
Oh, yeah. Great, thank you for that. I didn't see that. Okay.
This is it.
This is the Tai Chi and Qigong.
Oh, you found it.
It's Thursdays, 5:30 to 6:30. I just remembered I couldn't go.
Oh.
Yeah, that's hard, the times, you know. when-
Yeah, 5:30 to 6:30.
Oh,
That's right now.
And I'm trying to see the actual website, sorry guys. Anyway, this is the City of Homer Community Recreation Fall and Winter. You just go into their guide and it's class after class, honestly. It's kind of nonstop. Let's see, there's dance,
Mhm.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I know you saw that one.
qigong.
Oh, I love that.
There's
dance.
lots of basketball and pickleball,
print that out. Do you have a
volleyball.
little printer which prints?
I could print this if anybody wants
Yeah, I
a
would like to.
copy. I could certainly print it. You wanna just let me know, raise your hand if you want a copy of this and I'll print it. Fine. Okay, great.
Just one.
I think I picked up the pamphlet at the library.
Yeah, I got it
Okay.
in the library.
And then we have also
Pickleball.
The hall down there where the winter programs at the Spark.
Oh, yeah.
That's another one I wanna
that's
print
super cool.
down what's going on. They have
Right.
also stuff going on there.
Kirk and Spark, they're so funny.
Yeah, Rita, I will get you a copy of that.
This is the book, I can just pass it around really quickly, you guys can take a look, it's pretty cool.
So of all the books, most practical for the Western people, see, is there one of your most favorite books, most handy, most simple?
I think that one is
That is
excellent,
that one,
it's a
okay.
good one.
Okay,
Mhm.
You get an overview of Chinese medicine, but it's just very practical
that's
advice
exactly
of
what I need.
how to be healthy.
Super practical.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'm so glad my sister-in-law, when I moved here, she gave me like a little booklet like this, very, and it was the best gift she could give, all meals for the breakfast for my kids. My kids
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
grow up with cold milk and dry cereal.
yeah,
They always had I always had warm
yeah,
cereals in
Yeah.
the morning.
Yeah.
And warm.
Yeah.
Body temperature.
Exactly.
We never had ice water.
yeah. Mhm.
That was the big
Yeah,
gift
going
she
back
gave
to
me.
Chinese nutritional therapy, yeah, like the traditional breakfast of cereal with milk is extremely damp producing. And dampness it manifests as excess weight, congestion, sinus issues. So many problems. So dairy, including cheese is part of it.
Cheese is what?
Well, dairy in general creates a lot of dampness in the body, but the combination of just eating like cold cereal, grains, like that, processed grains, and then milk on top of it is just overloading the kids with dampness, and then often they're very sugary, which also creates more dampness. So then the kids are foggy-headed, they can't think clearly because the dampness also affects
Wow.
the clarity of thought.
We were just messing up the kids altogether.
Yeah, it's hard to go to school and sit still and concentrate. Yeah.
I'm pulling it up on Zoom or on Amazon for you guys, not because I want you to go to Amazon. You can certainly go to the Homer bookstore.
Yeah, you can even get it used.
You
There's a
can
lot
get
of used ones for $2.
used, and the
What?
Homer bookstore would certainly
There's
sell
one
this.
for, really?
Oh, yeah, a lot, because this is this book's been around for a long
Oldie
time.
goody.
Yeah.
I need, so what is it
It's
called?
$2.
Staying healthy?
Staying healthy.
$2 a season. So
I'm
you
gonna
can get
take
used ones
that.
for $2.
Oh, excellent, yeah.
My gosh, they
Yeah.
have new season.
I bought that book used. I think I only spent $2.
Plus shipping.
Plus shipping, yeah, so. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you see that it's 50 cents and then shipment is 25.
Especially to Alaska.
Yeah, right, good point.
I had that before, there were some smarty pants, it's like.
Oh, sure.
We could look at the bookstores around here too.
Yeah, look at the sheet.
Okay, well, I closed out my PowerPoint apparently, but I was gonna share my screen with, we hope you come back next week.
Yeah.
So that's why I closed it out.
What was that?
Hires.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
That was really incredible.
Yes.
And so what is the next element?
Well, what do you think the next
Winter.
element would be?
Oh, let's check.
So what element is that?
Water.
Water, yes. So
Water,
meadow, then we're
okay.
going into water.
Okay.
That's in the winter. What comes after that? Here's the quiz.
The earth.
Spring, what's the spring? Wood, yep. Wood is spring. Yep. Yep. And then summer is
Fire.
fire.
So much to
So
learn.
if I was really honest.
There's just so much.
I need to be seeing you for every other.
Just mind-boggling how much information.
Or you can get the
Well, then there's
book.
this, and then there's this, and
Yeah,
then there's this, and then they have this.
Yeah. Or you can get the book and just start working
Yourself.
on things. Yes.
Don't say that, that's bad for business.
I would love to see you, but
Kill
there's
yourself.
also,
I'm
a
gonna
lot you can do.
And thank you so much on Zoom.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
So Amy, a fall in Mexico is different than a fall in Siberia.
Exactly.
So how